Grateful Dead channel now invites you to spend time with a man who spent more than 30 years as a member of the Grateful Dead family, Steve Parish. The music, memories, and insight begin now with the Big Steve Hour on Sirius XM's Grateful Dead channel. And now, here's Big Steve Parish.
Hello, all my beautiful deadheads out there. How are you today? You know, these days between can be very emotional for all of us. There's no question about it. It just, for me, I can't believe, the pictures keep flowing out everywhere and so many memories keep flooding back into my mind because of that fateful day when I chose to go ahead and take Jerry's guitar and amplifier in my old 51 Cadillac over to the Matrix, and he's playing with Howard Wales, and that started a Garcia band. After just listening to that song, I realized that it opened up so many worlds to me because Jerry and I did everything other than Grateful Dead together. I took his stuff to whatever he did extracurricular. Also, with the Grateful Dead, we were together every day. But Grateful Dead always came first. But I want to say something right now that these days between, have to think. Now today, I like to call this day Pigpen Day. Hunter, Robert Hunter, Rock Scully, Brent Midland, Keith Godchow, Vince Welnick, Ramrod, Donald Rex Jackson, Owsley, so many more that have gone before us that I could just sit here naming them for a while. But Jerry would like that. He would like to share this part of those days with all the people that gave everything they had for the Grateful Dead to go down the road. I really want to get to your calls right now. I know we have a lot of people out there, and I want everybody to keep on moving, get your questions ready, let's say hi, and, talk whatever's on your mind. The rules are loose and fast, but let's keep moving along. Okay, Lauren, are you going to help me? Are you there?
I am here. We're going to throw it to Jack in Connecticut, who's been waiting to chat for quite a while.
Great. Thank you.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Jack. How are you today?
Hey, how's it going? I got an interesting question for you. I had a conversation with John Cale of the Velvet Underground about the Grateful Dead, which, they seem like somewhat the antithesis of one another, but also very similar in different ways.
Sure.
I know that they also shared the bill with each other a few times, and I thought maybe you'd want to elaborate on what went down with those, two bands with very different personalities. And a second part to that question, John Cale was saying that he was at the Lyceum shows in spring of '72 in London, England.
Sure.
And he said that it was a pretty wild time backstage, and him and Robert Hunter had a really interesting kind of time together. And I was wondering if maybe you could elaborate or knew or remembered any stories regarding any of those.
That's a great gig, the Lyceum in '72. But first, let me say that the couple of times the Grateful Dead shared a bill with the Velvet Underground, it was like oil and water. There was no mixing, really. Just common courtesy. And it was very early on. And the music was understood, but the Velvet Underground was such an East Coast, New York solid thing. And Grateful Dead on the other side of the coast, the left coast. So there was a respect, for sure. And there was a respect for the music. And there was certainly, we listened to their music and talked about it. It was something that went farther into certain places than we did at that time, in a more straight-ahead approach. Like there's songs about heroin, there's songs about, living life in a more urban manner. We were still countrified at that time. But anyway, it was great. And then that show at the Lyceum was really something else, the Lyceum, when you walk in there, you feel like you're stepping back into ancient London. You feel Shakespeare's vibes. That place has got an amazing atmosphere. And it is in a funny little corner of London and stuck away there. And I remember hanging out there all day while we set up. The stage is an old wrought iron stage, and it was at that time, and it was all, welded together, wrought iron. And so it was strange to set up on, and we had to do a few things to get it going. And the crew was pretty salty there. The Cockneys run that place, kind of, and they don't take much guff from Americans. We weren't getting that much respect in England anyway, because they were telling us, hey, we invented rock and roll. What are you Yanks doing over here anyway? But we had a lot of fun with them.
John alluded to some friction, I guess, between them and the locals.
There was a little bit of tension going on with the load in and other things. We were trying to do it our way. They wanted to do it their way, and they weren't, used to our gear. It was heavy, and they were complaining about some of that stuff. But the show itself was fantastic, man. Everybody took a lot of psychedelic, man. And Hunter was great. Hunter was really just at his peak at that time with us. And he was on the road with us all the time and writing while he was on the road, And he had that great thing of where he could write while the band was playing. You'd look over in the corner and you'd see him, and he'd be writing furiously in his pad with a pad and paper, and pencil, and he'd be writing down lyrics for another song in his head. I thought that was amazing to have that way that he could do that while everything was so absorbed in what was happening at the moment with the show, Anyway, people, and there was a lot of people hanging out in the whole place. It was sort of like a Winterland feeling almost, because there was no backstage breathing room. We were on the stage and we were there with all our gear. There wasn't much comforts backstage. It was old style, and the dressing rooms were funky, and they were full of people, and the whole of London was out with all its finest, and it was great. What a great night.
Yeah.
I don't particularly remember meeting Mr. Cale, but I'm sure I might have seen him with Hunter or seen Hunter with him. It's very
well,
possible.
And coincidentally, he was working for Warner Brothers Records at the time, I guess in the AR department.
Well, that's perfect, because that's the gig. Excuse me. But that's perfect, because I was going to mention about Joe Smith, but I've told this story so many times lately because it came up a couple of times. But Joe Smith from Warner Brothers was there that night, and he came running up on stage. He must have came with him, of course. And they came up on stage, and Joe came up to me and he said, "Steve, I want tell Jerry I'm here, that Joe Smith is here from Warner Brothers." And that's where I went over and told Jerry that. And I said, "Jerry, Joe Smith is here." And he said, "Hey, tell Joe Smith to go fuck himself." And Joe Smith loved that.
That would sound about right.
He wrote that in his autobiography, man. He's passed away now, but he thought that was a great moment. That's the way we treated him. But we liked him. He was a pretty good guy, actually. And so that makes sense that your buddy was there, that Cale was there that night with him if he was working for Warner Brothers, because they were all there.
I think he was kind of laying low. But, all right, well, thank you, Steve. That was interesting. And I want to let some other callers jump in there. I have some other questions someday. Maybe I'll call back some other day. But
please
thank you. That was
please do, man. Great talking to you, man. Good question.
All right, man.
Thank you so much.
All right, later.
Bye-bye.
All right. We also have a ton of people calling from New York. First up, we have Larry, who's calling from Long Island.
All right.
Hello.
Hey, Larry. Hi, Larry.
Hey, how are you, Big Steve?
I am good today, man. I'm feeling pretty good. How about yourself?
Excellent. I'm feeling great. Just finished working. Now I'm listening to my favorite show.
Yeah, right.
So,
now I feel better even.
Great. I got a question for you. It's about the Palladium, New York City.
Sure.
Jerry did a benefit for Eric Alexander.
Yeah, right.
June 25th.
That's right.
So I was at the show, and a couple of my friends were there, and it was a very wild evening. You got anything to say about that? Any stories?
Well, it was a good friend of ours. Sandy Alexander was the president of the New York Hells Angels, and his son was roughhousing and running around with his friends and actually fell off the roof of their apartment building, And Jerry and I went over to the hospital just to see, to give him and his mother, Colette, some support, because the kid was really gone, man. He was in a coma, bad hurt. And so Jerry and I went there at Bellevue, and it was hard to go there, man, at night. You know, we saw a lot of stuff we didn't want to see, let me put it that way. But anyway, we did that, and then we promised them that we would help them somehow because they didn't have any money, and kid needed huge medical bills. And Jerry, he couldn't refuse anybody. I mean, we played so many benefits for people, you know, but the Palladium was there in New York. We got it. We put our, you know, we pulled in some chips, and people put it together. And it was a great show, but it was a wild show. I know it was because we were just partying like crazy.
I was in the audience, and somebody either got pushed, fell, or whatever from the balcony.
Oh, no. Somebody jumped. I think somebody jumped from the balcony and landed on a gal. They landed on this gal.
He landed on a couple of the guys.
Well, I think he landed on a gal who really got hurt. A friend of ours, a guy who worked for John Shear, his wife.
Right.
I think she got
saw
hurt.
them taking them out on the stretches.
Yeah, you know, people sometimes got too high and jumped off the balconies, and that was dangerous. Yeah. Man. I've seen it a couple of times, and it's just scary, and it's wrong. It's wrong.
That was a pretty wild scene, interacting with all those Hells Angels. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, well, they were there in good spirits because we were doing them a big, you know, favor for something they were worried about too. It was at the time, and life has a way of balancing all that stuff out. You know, the gig was good. The Palladium, we played there many times in New York, and it was a great place. Real historic.
Yeah, that was a late show. Didn't start till 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah, there was something because they ran movies in there, and we had to go in way after the movies till they moved the movie screen out, and then we rolled our stuff in, and it was kind of like that. So, you know, but thank you for
all right, man.
About that,
I'll let you go, and great talking to you, and carry on.
All right, we'll see you later.
All right.
Peace.
Okay, Larry.
Thank you.
Yep.
We're going to keep it in the neighborhood. Also from Long Island is John.
John from Long Island. Hey, John, you out there?
Hey, I am. Big Steve, thank you very much. I've tried many times to get through.
Boy, I'm glad to talk to you, man.
Yeah, we just had a lot of storm and a lot of damage here, but that's the side story. I love your show, and I saw the Dead a handful of times back in the late 70s and 80s, and it's really the satellite radio got me back on the bus. The last 12 years with the cars and the radio, it's just been great. And your show, it's awesome. Anyhow, I just had one question, and then I got a comment. John Mayer, I saw him on TV one day on some kind of a thing, and I'm just flashing through the channels, and he's just wailing away. I swear to God, it was with Eric Clapton and somebody else playing the blues. And then you know, and you think of John Mayer and, you know, his previous poppy girly songs, and I was just blown away. Flash forward 5 years, he's in Dead and Company, and I've heard one or two variations of how he and Bobby really met, you know, backstage before a TV show or something. If you could answer that question, then I just have one final comment when we're done.
Yeah. John, you know, the first time I saw him was on the Dave Chappelle show, and he was playing guitar, and I took notice of him then, and he was really young, you know, and you could tell right away that his passion was the blues, and he was learning his craft really well. Now, then he went on a career path, you know, and that's what you have to do in showbiz. So few musicians make it, man. So few musicians make enough money to even talk about it, that when you get the chances and they open up for you and you're young and ready to do it, you take them. And, you know, there's a thing in the Grateful Dead. They had so many times when it would come up, oh, don't sell out, don't do this, don't do that. But really, when you're selling tickets for shows and people are coming to see you, you're selling your music already, you know, so you might as well enjoy life. And Mayer, you know, he had his own career going. Then he brushed up against our scene. And he played around here in Marin County with a couple of people. And word got around about it. You know, he played with Phil, actually, once or twice. And then Bobby and him did some playing together. And I think it might have been at Bobby's studio. I kind of... don't remember that exactly, but they immediately flashed on each other. You see, because Weir and him could make a connection that was strong, and it was something they needed to do for each other. And John, his career and life was changed by this whole thing. You see, the Grateful Dead doesn't take anybody in that it doesn't change. It's a thing of destiny, like everything in your life is too, and everything in everybody's life. So the Grateful Dead has that swirl going around it, and he got caught up in that. And then things evolved to what Dead and Company. At first, it's a trial. It's check it out, see if it works, and then it became something that worked and people liked it. It's the audience that decides all that, whether they respond to it.
He truly has meshed. I mean, Warren was fine and Trey was fine, but John just seems to get it. And,
That's right.
And, I saw the three Dead and Company shows at Citi Field here the last 3 years, and he just really worked. So I don't want to waste time. I just want to end this on a bummer, man. I'll date myself. I'm turning 65 Sunday, August 9th. So
Okay.
I don't have to tell you what a bummer
Hey,
my 40th birthday was.
No.
Jerry's passing.
Listen to me, man.
Yeah.
It's not a bummer.
Yeah.
It's not a bummer, and I'll tell you why.
No, because I'm 65. I'm still going strong. Knock knock.
Exactly.
But
exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
But I want to tell you my little story about that. Because Jerry was one of me and him were so close. We were together every day in two bands that worked every day. Okay, and we were very close. And I was with him right until his last moments. And then when he died on August 1st, I was really, on August 9th, I was really, really broke up, of course, and a couple of years went by, and then we got into the 2000s even, and then my granddaughter was born on the 9th, and that turned that day around for me. You see what I mean? And so you got to think of all the good things, all the babies that are born on that day. All his spirit is around and comes through all that stuff, And he wouldn't want anybody to feel bad about this day. And you got to celebrate. You celebrate. It's because you're emotional.
But anyhow,
it's emotional.
I'll let you go. Let those people get through, because I know I've tried many times, Steve, but I love your show.
Okay, buddy. Thank you so much. Call me back. I like talking to you.
All right,
man.
so, okay, keep on keeping on.
Hey, did it hit bad on Long Island there, the storm? It whacked it pretty good?
Yeah, my actual house was semi-blessed and town, but power out all over the place, power trees. It was, we didn't get a quarter inch, and I didn't get an eighth of an inch of rain hardly. It was like 10 minutes of rain, but 3.5 hours of blowing, 50 to 75 or something. Somebody said gusts up to 80, so a lot of tree damage for sure. Could have been worse if it had been more wet. Things got heavy with stuff, but yeah, no, that was we're out the end of the island, so we got the windy end of it, not so much the rainy end of it, So
I'm glad you're
we're in the Unhamptons on the North Fork. So I'll let you go, Steve. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Nice talking to you.
All right, great.
All right, we have, Caleb from Georgia.
Caleb, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing
Caleb.
well, Big Steve. It is such a thrill to talk to you.
Oh, man, it's great to talk to you, too. How are you doing, man? Everything good?
Dude, you are the man. Big Steve, you are the man. All right, hold on. Let me gather my thoughts.
Okay.
So, I saw Dark Star Orchestra a few years ago, and they covered a Little Feat song, Easy to Slip. They did Easy to Slip into I Know You Rider, so my buddies and I naturally called it Easy Rider. Anyways, I knew that Lowell George had a hand in the Shakedown Street album, produced it, correct?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Wow, man.
I want to hear you talk about Jerry and Lowell George.
For sure, brother. I tell you that, I'm so glad that you asked that, man, Caleb, because what a perfect person to think about today. I hadn't thought about him in a little bit here. And he walked in. You will love this, Caleb. He came to our studio at Front Street, right? And so I opened the door for him. The band was back there playing. And he comes in, and he's wearing white bib, farmer boy overalls, and flip-flops, and just comes in carrying his suitcase and tosses it down and, says hi. We shake hands, and he jumped right in with us. He was our brother from that second on, man. He came back there, and everybody said hi to him, and we started talking to him, and he picked up on our whole scene. You see, that wasn't just our recording studio and our hangout. We lived there every day, man. We spent all day there, man, all the crew and all the band. And it was a special place. A lot of friends came by there, and he loved it, man. And now across the street was the Bermuda Palms Hotel, and that was just full of hookers and ne'er-do-wells and criminals and you name it. That's where that street got the name of Shakedown Street, because they'd be coming in. This was the back of the hotel, faced us, and they'd be coming in and out through the windows, man, pulling their stunts all night long. We knew them all. They knew us, and we'd been in that neighborhood for a long time. And so he loved it, and he just jumped in, and he is the funniest guy in the world, man. What a great dude. And just can play the slide guitar like you would believe, like heavenly, man. And he was jumping on our motorcycles. He took one of our motorcycles out for a ride without permission with his flip-flops on and about lost it in the sandy corner. And I was, I had to give him a lecture about that, about being careful, because he was just jumping in with both feet on everything. And he did some great stuff. And Jerry and him really liked each other, man, just right off the bat. At that time, Jerry was playing some other stuff. And there's a real deep, deep secret name that we used to call Jerry once in a while, okay? And that came from his bluegrass stuff with Olden in the Way. And Con had named him that. And we called him Spud Taters. And that was his thing. So Spud Taters was hanging out with him all the time. They had so much fun, those two. And Lowell would call me all the time, man, after he did that album with us, because he was with us for months there. And then he went back and did his stuff, and he'd call me all the time, man, check in and talk. And then I was just broke up. We were up in Portland about to do a show there, and I got the news that he passed away. He was a great guy and really touched all of us, not like we were at a quest at that time of trying all producers, Gary Lyons, Keith Olson, and we end up always having to do it all ourselves anyway, and they always seemed to be more taken over by our scene when they came to work with us, And he was no different, and he just loved it, man. But he became a true friend and brother for life, man. I miss that guy right now, man. And I could see him right now, representing, as he did, the beautiful stuff that happens in the South. He loved all that.
A wild-eyed Southern boy, Steve. We call him a wild-eyed Southern boy.
He represented.
It's so good to hear you talk about him. I love.
He
I
really
love the Grateful
represented,
Dead, especially.
Yeah, he
Wait,
did
say
too.
that again?
He represented the South very well, man. He was all the good stuff, and he was there to play music, and he had the history with him, and he loved food and all that. Man, we had so much fun with that guy. Yeah, I always miss him, but he sure was great. Thank you for talking about him, man. That's great.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I'd love to talk to you again. I'll try you.
Yeah, Caleb, you stay in touch, man, and you take care of yourself, all right? You be safe. We'll talk to you soon, man. All right.
All right, let's go all the way over to the West Coast. We have Derek from California.
Derek. All right, turn your radio down, Derek. You got me now.
California. Derek. Turn your radio down, Derek. You got me.
Well, come on, Derek.
All right, let's try this again. I guess we're going to go back to New York. We have Chris.
All right. Hello, Chris. You out there? New York, Chris.
Yes, I am. Here I am.
Hey, hello.
Hey,
how are you?
Fellow New Yorker here. I know
right on.
Jerry and Bob went on Letterman a couple times. Did you go with them, or did they talk about that
Yes,
at all?
I did. I went both times that they did Letterman. I was with them. And it was just the three of us went over there. Both times. And very different experiences both times.
Yeah.
You want me just to talk? You want me to freelance talk about it? I'll tell you all about them both, man. But
okay, yeah.
Okay, so first time Letterman was at NBC, and we knew that studio from doing Saturday Night Live, and we went there and felt right at home with him, and he was really great and loose with us, man. And of course, we broke out the weed, and we're having a party in our dressing room, and he came down there and hung out with us, and just was so much fun. And the show was a lot of fun too. Weir, of course, started the silliest thing going where he decided that he wanted to do that trick on the show, and he just sort of took over the thing where Jerry was sitting in a chair, and he got him and Letterman and a couple other people to put our fingers under there and lift up the whole chair, the way you can do that with a table or a chair, and that turned into a whole crazy situation. But Letterman was so much fun. The second time we went was a few years later, and he was over at CBS at the old Ed Sullivan Studios. And it was really different there, man. First of all, he kept the studio really chill and cold, and that was okay. But I recognize that, but that was the only thing that was the same. The rest was all security and straight, and I think I lit up a joint, and they kindly asked to put it out and that kind of stuff, and he didn't really hang with us that much. It was just a different feeling to the whole thing, and it was still a great show, and he was a great guy. The guys got along well with him. Louis Anderson was next door, and I was talking to him for a while, and it was very interesting to get to know him. A crazy character that he was and is to this day. But that was, I think, the second time. But we sure enough had good experiences there. Yeah.
Good. Well, thanks for the story. I love listening to him. I'm going to hang up and listen to the rest of the show on the radio.
I even did his other show with them called Tom Donahue, was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom Donahue show, I think. Yeah, this guy, you talked to him, and it was just him talking to Jerry, and we went and did that. He was pretty interesting.
Oh, I haven't seen that one. I'll have to look for it.
It's an older one, yeah. It was before Letterman, even. Okay. Thanks, man. Nice talking to you.
Catch you later.
Okay.
All right. We have Brent from Indianapolis.
Brent, okay. Brent,
Big
you
Steve,
out there?
how are you, my friend?
I'm good. How you doing? Really
You know what?
good.
I'm doing great, man. It's absolute an honor to talk to you. I love your stories, and thank you for keeping it alive. And what better time to talk than the days between, right?
Yeah, boy, this is really very emotional for all of us, but yet my mind is just full of all this stuff right now because I keep thinking about it.
Oh, it is, man. It gets so many good memories back. And, I got a quick little days between story and then a quick question, and I'll get on the way. And also a big shout-out to my buddy Smitty. It's his birthday today, so happy birthday, Smitty. But great story.
Happy
1995, we went to the two Memphis shows, and the days between on our way to Birmingham, we stopped off at Graceland to check out Elvis's abode, right? And went in, checked out, did the whole tour and everything, and we were getting out, we were walking out, going outside where the grave sites are, and getting ready to leave, and we walk out to the gate where you go to the parking lot, and this awesome security lady stopped us and said, you guys have a good time? We said, a great time. She goes, are you sure you want to leave? And we were like, well, yeah, we checked it out. It was a good time. And she said, well, you look like you might want to see these. We're closed to the public. You're the last four here. And she turned around and pointed and said those two blue vans that just pulled in are the Grateful Dead. And she could tell by our appearance, we were all we had our gear on. She said, if you guys want to stay, please stay. Just sit down over there and hang out for a little while. Long story short, we sat there, and then out walks Jerry, Deborah Coons, Billy, Mickey's brother, few other people. I don't know if you were there, Steve. Were you there?
No, I was at the show. No, I was at the show at that time, and I didn't go over there with them. But I know they went over there that day. Yes.
Yeah, it was really neat. So we sat there. They walked through, did their thing, and they're all walking right by us, and just looked right at Jerry, and he stared me right. I mean, I won't forget. I got chills telling you the story. But I said, Jerry, thank you for a real good time. And he stopped and looked right at me and turned to me and said, no, thank you. And I just was like, whoa,
Yeah, that'd be him. That'd be him, man.
Oh, that is him. And the power of Jerry Garcia and the music of the Grateful Dead have just done amazing things. So, again, just one of those things that will just a lifelong memory that I will never let go of. Just awesome. But my question, when you guys, how often did you stop and visit things in cities in between going to the next city? Was that kind of a frequent thing, or how often did that come about?
We went to places years after, and it was always different. When we first started going on the road, we didn't have, buses or vans or anything. We either were driving ourselves in trucks, and the band would be in rent-a-cars, and so we ventured out a little bit but we always kind of went out in a group together, and experimented. Then, as the years went on, when we had more at our disposal to go places, like when you talk about the vans going out to Graceland, we did do stuff all the time like that. And Jerry and I in the Garcia band, he would come with me in the truck. He didn't care. He would jump in the crew van and we would go out to check out stuff around because, when we were younger, you want to get out there and you want to see everything, man, and go out every night and party all the time. So we made sure to get to know a place that we played at and the places that we went back to, because that way you got to know, each place in those days was so different. In other words, there was different customs in the South. There was different customs in New England. There was different customs in the West, in the Midwest, in the Southeast, Southwest. Very different places, and people had different accents on the radios and on the news and everything. But that got homogenized as the years went on, and so we got to see all that of America. And I'm really glad we did because it's gone now. And
it is. And God bless the Grateful Dead, right? I mean, it has done so much for me, and being able to travel the U.S. to go see all these great things. So, again, thank you for all you're doing and sharing the stories, my friend, because it really keeps it alive, and that's what we all need, especially during these crazy times we're in right now. So,
well, thank you, and thank you mostly, and that was something that Jerry really meant, when he says that. Because it was always about the audience, and it always is about the audience, and it always will be about the audience. In every part of this crazy world, it's what people respond to, what makes them feel good. And the Grateful Dead had that thing of making people feel good, and it still happens,
It's still happening, and it's large and in charge, my friend. And again, I can't thank you enough for sharing your stories and what you do. And it's been an absolute honor to talk to you, and look forward to having the chance to do it again soon, my friend.
Jerry loved Elvis. Can I tell you that? And in his band, in the Garcia band, the first songs he used to do were a lot of Elvis tunes. That's All Right, Mama. He would do such a great version of that, rocking in the nightclubs in San Francisco, man. And he always did an Elvis song every night, man. And he loved Elvis. He liked to listen to Elvis, and he was very much influenced by him, as everybody was. And Ron Tutt was playing in our band. Ron Tutt played drums in the Jerry Garcia band for 4 or 5 years, man. He was with us all the time, and he was playing with us and with Elvis. And, I mean, I'd been with the Grateful Dead for years before that, and when Ron Tutt's drums came down from where the baggage came up, the baggage claim, and I went to get his stuff in Dallas, the first gig he played with us, and it said Elvis on his cases. I never could believe the mob that got around me, just around his drum cases, a trap case and some others. And then he was a great guy. He's still, I hope, a wonderful person. He's fabulous to work with and taught me so much. We had so much fun together. I really miss him. I haven't seen him in a long time. But that was a cross-section between us. And so he would tell us, if you ever look at Elvis's shows, in 1970, there's a documentary done about the Elvis band, right? And you see Ron Tutt. Ron's in the center. He's the leader of the band, man. And he was so close with Elvis. And so Elvis would ask him all about Jerry and ask him all about us all the time. Because he knew he was over there with us and smoking pot and doing other things that Elvis didn't always approve of and different things. But he kept the faith, and he really was interested in our scene. And I remember the day that Elvis passed, Ron was at our studio at Front Street, and we had a basketball set up there, right, where we'd shoot some hoops in the afternoon, waiting for everybody to come for rehearsal. And the Garcia band was rehearsing. And this gal friend of mine was there, and we were just shooting. Me and Ron were shooting baskets, and she was out listening to the radio. She came in and said, "Oh my God, Elvis just passed," And Ron was like, he went white, and he had that taking care of business necklace that he wore all the time that Elvis had given him, that they all had in the band. And he was really close with Elvis. And he was in the Garcia band and very close with all of us, too. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, two great living legends right there, right?
The drummer that we had before him was, his name was Paul Humphreys, and he played with Lawrence Welk, and then at night came over and worked with us.
Wow.
Crazy, man. I mean, I thought that was even weirder than Elvis. Lawrence Welk to Jerry, and then Elvis to Jerry. Man, that was some crazy stuff. We were right in the middle of it. Well, thank you, man. Thank you for those questions.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for everything. Keep it going, my friend, and God bless you.
Hey, yeah, same to you, man.
Talk soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. So we have, he's calling from California. He'll have to remind you of his name, but he wants to talk to you very specifically about a specific tour, I think even a specific venue. So let's bring him on.
Okay. Hello. You got Big Steve. Who's this?
Steve. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Who's this? What's your name?
Right. My name is Charlie. People call me Charles, and you can call me Cosmic Mr. Charlie. I don't care what you call me, man. I'm just happy to be on the show. Happy to talk to you, bro.
Okay, fine.
I was calling particularly, I did pretty much the whole '89 summer tour. I'm 50 years old. I saw my first show in '87, and it changed my life, man. I was at the time kind of at a real crossroads in my life, and the Grateful Dead put me on the right path. You know what I mean? It showed me that there was a lot of people in the world that had the same hope and the same love and kindness in their heart and wanted to share that. And I thousands of people all with that same vibe at my first show. It changed my life. But anyway, in '89, man.
That's beautiful, man. That's a beautiful thing you're saying.
In Washington, D.C., there was a weird vibe. And do you remember the hot dog vendor at night that got tossed? Some locals came through and tossed over a hot dog vendor's cart. Do you remember that story?
There was all kinds of rowdy shit that happened at that gig that night. And that was at RFK. You talking about RFK? Is that where it was?
Yes, sir. RFK Stadium.
Yeah. That was rowdy that night. But the summer heat in that part of town, it was always rowdy stuff happened at that place. I don't know what it was.
I bet. We felt like we were strangers in a strange land, that's for sure. I had to walk to downtown to get money off the bank, from bank off my credit card because I had no cash on me. That's how you did it back in the day. And here I am. I got a tank top on and tie-dye shorts on. I had cut my foot on tour, so I got a bamboo cane. I walked through some of the worst neighborhoods I have to get cash, and I survived, man. I don't know how. I was the only person of my color within all of my vision.
Well, most places like that, rock and roll, were in that part of town, man. Most of the places we played at were like that, in the discarded parts of town. So we loved it, and we got used to that, But it was, at times, it was challenging in different ways. But
I bet.
I'm glad you made it, man. I'm glad you did okay.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I think I had the vibe and the magic with me from the scene. Either that or people thought, like, who's this crazy guy? He must be too insane to mess with that he's walking through these neighborhoods. But I had a question, kind of, when Brett passed away, there was just all kinds of just nasty things people were saying, about
what people? What people?
Rumors, people like to just talk shit. Particularly people that I think just maybe didn't like the scene, I just,
right. It was a tragedy.
When people, go down that road and someone passes away, somebody passes away, man. It's no need to.
Yeah, but everybody's got something to say. Everybody's got something to say about stuff they don't know about. And they didn't know Brent, probably. And if you knew him, it was a different kind of tragedy than you might imagine, because he was a musician of the highest order, no question about it. But like a lot of musicians, they are a little bit dysfunctional in other parts of their lives,
right.
And they don't, because they've got... The muse has called them into that world. They sometimes do quirky things in the rest of their life. And so you got to remember, when he came into the scene, he was trying to play catch up so hard, man. We'd all been in at it for a long time.
Gotcha.
And he wanted to catch up on everything. And he tried to jump in with both feet. And he was a great guy. We loved him, man. His father was a preacher, a chaplain in the Army. and he was
Really?
raised by him. His dad, they were Norwegian stock, and he was funny. His dad would always go, "Yeah, man, fish and potatoes, fish and potatoes." That's what he was joke about, Norwegians. And so Brent had that. He was very polite when he was not inebriated. He was just the most gentle soul, polite. And then he tried to play catch up hard and heavy. And there we all were. You can imagine. We all were riding motorcycles. The fucking scene was wild as hell. Everybody was partying all the time and doing anything they wanted, as long as they could handle it. And we were pros at it. But he was, trying so hard. And then he'd start drinking. First, he was just his name on the road, he gave himself the name Budweiser. That was his road name, for the hotel.
I always thought like he was trying to go for a beer commercial with a little light. It was just, well, you could have said, "Give me a Miller Lite." It just works too dang good.
Yeah, right. It's just like the way the Miracle Whip people came and they wanted to buy I Need a Miracle, but that's another story. Just like Ford wanted trucking. We never did it. We never did any of those things. But the thing was, anyway, with him, that he tried to play catch up. And, I looked out one time we were in Portland and he was really wild that night, man. And he was like looking for trouble at the hotel, and banging on my door and smashing. I let him in my room for a while and he just started smashing shit. And I said, "You got to get out of here, And then I looked out the window. A couple of the guys were with me and there he was out on the street with traffic going both ways, man. And he was walking on the yellow line and cars were honking at him and then I said, that just hit perfectly what he was going through. And he had a beautiful family and he had so much things going for him, but he'd get crazy, man. He'd get crazy. Don't ever think that alcohol doesn't make people nuts if they overdo it.
No, I don't drink, and my mom, was a real bad alcoholic, and it's always to me been the number one worst drug in the world, and does the most damage, and makes people the ugliest. Maybe besides meth, that might be the worst, really, but.
Well, yeah, and the thing is that alcohol will give you the courage to do a lot of other stupid stuff that you wouldn't do normally, That's what I don't want to get into that too deep right now, but time to move on.
No, not at all. I was always kind of like on board with where the alcohol.
We loved him. It hurt a lot.
I didn't want to drink when I was at shows and when I was touring. I needed all the energy and hydration I could get to dance.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what meant something to me.
And if he kept himself focused on the music, well, you hit it right on the head. If he kept himself focused on the music, he was happiest. But the music ends eventually, and then you got to be out on the road, and you got to think about it, and you got to try to figure all this other stuff out, and it
becomes work, not just your passion too.
Well, it's a tightrope. It's a tightrope out there.
Absolutely.
So all your energy's at the show, and when you get back to the hotel, you got a lot of energy built up, and we partied every night, man. So, but anyway. Call me back. We'll talk about this some more. It's a big subject. There's so much. For sure,
man. Yeah, and maybe in the future we could touch a little bit on Vince. I actually met Vince at my last Dead show in '95 in Tampa. We had 15th row floor and backstage passes, just a perimeter of the backstage, like literally. I got to meet Chris from the Black Crowes, and I got to meet Vince, and that was a magical night. And Jerry was, kind of here and there throughout the show, it was towards the end, but it was still great. Phil did a beautiful Unbroken Chain that night, man. My first time ever seeing that song, and it was amazing. Thank you, Steve, and thank everybody.
Yeah,
involved.
But don't ever think, let me tell you something. You mentioned earlier that, people were saying stuff. We loved Brent, man. We loved him so much. But when he died, we had so much death that we dealt with at that time and before that we just couldn't let it take us down, So we kept going.
Of course.
And that's the way that is.
Of course.
And mistakes are made at times, but don't ever think we didn't love him and respect him. Okay.
Oh, nice no. I mean, that's the other part I want to touch on was Vince, too, because the same thing happened when he passed, too. It was like people were saying all kinds of vicious stuff, like saying that he's the,
They don't know.
The reason why Jerry got...
We'll talk about him some other time. I was right there with him, right up till the end, man, and I'll tell you all about that sometime. but it's a different
All right,
story.
for sure, man. Because Missing Man was, like, to me, the best thing that happened.
Yeah, I was manager of Missing Man. I
Man.
managed Missing Man. I put it together with Vince. Okay, I'll talk to you later, man.
Oh,
nice.
Okay, peace out, Steve. Thank you. Love, big love, man.
Bet. Love you too, man.
Take care. Love you, bro.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Okay, we got another caller, Lauren.
We
While
do.
We're on a roll here.
We're
on a roll.
We have plenty of super, super patient folks. Most of all is probably George from Georgia.
Okay, let me have George from Georgia. Can you hear
Hey,
me,
Big
brother?
Steve, can you hear me?
Yeah, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Long-time
Good.
listener, first-time caller. I'm a young
I love
deadhead,
it.
35.
All right.
But I had a question. Me and my buddy's dad actually, about relay towers. Did Bear invent those things like what we know as concert relay towers today? And then if he did, what was their use and his involvement in setting them up for Woodstock?
Okay, so delay towers came out of a common Bay Area thought at shows, and Woodstock there was no delay towers there to speak of.
There was
Woodstock,
okay.
Nobody knew what they were doing at Woodstock that far advanced. But from that show, well, see, Owsley came up with the stuff because nothing was grounded at Woodstock. Nobody grounded the stage. And Bear and Healy was another genius of the live gig PA, man.
Right.
Without that guy, none of that stuff would have happened. The simple stuff that we all put together to make the wall of sound and to make these huge PAs at the time, because the PAs were just small and they were really just an A1 bottoms, they were called, and they were not. They were the same thing they used in movie theaters behind the screen, and that one on each side was what PAs were like. So at Woodstock, that's what the PA was like, and it was very inefficient. It couldn't reach the crowds. Mm-hmm. The crowds busted down the place, and then people started talking about all these ideas, because at Woodstock, we had all the East Coast guys like Terry Hanley from Hanley Sound, which ran the Fillmore East, and Mike Zazuli, and all these other sound guys were there. So everybody shared on these ideas. Now, at Altamont is when we brought the PA that Owsley had really put together. And he was really talking about delay towers, but nobody knew what the fuck was going on there either. That was a complete mess. and the stage, like at Woodstock, was 25 feet high or 30 feet high. At Altamont, it was only 19 inches. Other problems occurred there. Yeah. And the PA was better, but not. It was these Buchla bottoms that went over to this place called Pepperland with John Myers, who now builds the PAs of the world. He was right there with us, learning all this stuff too. So Healy really started coming across with the idea of delay towers. And when Owsley went to jail, Healy took that idea, and he was the one that did it at the big shows. I think we really tried it at Watkins Glen the first time.
Okay.
You know? And then from there on in, it was something that everybody tried doing all the time. But it was, of course, delay towers.
I find it so
very
fascinating, the things that we take for granted in modern rock venue sound now that y'all invented as you went.
Well, you had to come. Necessity is the mother of invention, because we had these problems facing us right in the fucking face. How do you get the sound to 500,000 people? I mean, when you see the size of that crowd, you can't believe it. It takes your breath away, And places like Forever, we were trying it, Englishtown and any of the giant shows that we did. And we had the chance to have that laboratory like that and to have the brains around it. And we took enough psychedelic drugs that we thought outside the box, man. And don't ever forget that.
I've been there.
And don't let anybody tell you that cannabis will make you lazy, because you know what? We did all that. We smoked pot all day long, the band, the crew, and we built all that stuff with our own two hands, and we stayed up. I defy anybody to stay up as long as we did, man, and do what we did.
Oh, yeah,
when people tell me about that.
Master's in wildlife biology that, loves smoking weed.
There you go. Well, I know doctors and lawyers and Indian chiefs that love smoking weed, too, because It is the great. I'm coming to you guys right now from my Grizzly Peak studios, man. We're dedicated to weed, man, and Grizzly Peak is all about that.
I mean, we're down here in Georgia. You wouldn't know from the politics, but the people are, and I think it's coming before too long.
Oh, you bet it is, man. I know it is because I love Georgia, man, and Georgia is a new place now, man. It's changing. And I've been there for many years. The first time I was through there was in 1959, man, and I'd never forgot it. That red soil, that red dirt affected me, and all the history of all those places. But you know, it was the old folks had to move on, and they have now, you know, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful
Have you ever been to Savannah?
Oh, shit, yes, man. I love Savannah. We played down in the clubs under there, man, by the river, you know, under the bridge there.
Yeah.
I forget the name of the street.
That's where I'm from, man.
Oh, man, that place is something else, man. Wow. All the history there and the weird hauntings and shit, I love that place.
Yeah, well, nothing, you
know. Midnight in the
got
Garden,
saved in the
man.
Civil War. We didn't get burned down, so, like, all that shit's still there.
That's right. That's right. And it has all that feeling, all the moss growing on everything. No, it's a perfect place in that, man. And
yeah, man. If you like history, it's a great place for sure. I mean, anyway, but a lot of history.
The people are really different there. They're really friendly. It's got a whole different feeling because it's got that seaport vibe going, you know, and just a great place.
Yeah, well, we're like little New Orleans, man, you know, very
that's right.
Southern, but very like bohemian and stuff, too. And instead of like French Catholics in New Orleans, it's Irish Catholics, and then, you know, hosts of all kinds of people from other races and cultures and walks of life.
You bet, man. It's a melting pot for sure.
For sure. Well, thanks for your time, Steve. I know it's getting late.
Right.
I'm going to let you get some more callers in, and I appreciate it.
All right. Nice talking to you, man. George, I'll talk to you
too,
soon.
Man.
Bye. All right. Keep them coming, Lauren. This is great. We're having a good day with everybody. They're good people, man.
All right. We have Marcus from Tennessee.
Oh, good. Marcus, can you hear me?
Big Steve, what's going on, man?
Hey, buddy. How's everything in the volunteer state, man? Is it all good down there?
It is sunny and hot, and we're just trying to stay safe and healthy.
There you go, man. Yeah, that's
well. Hey,
that's
I'll cut it to the chase because I know you don't have a lot of time left.
Okay.
My wife and I were thinking about baby names, so we got a nice, exciting thing going on there. But we were thinking about using Rose as a middle name, and we both are pretty big deadheads, so we had kind of this idea of, I wonder what the significance is of Rose. You know, you've got Ramble on Rose, It Must Have Been the Roses, Run for the Roses. So I just wondered if there was anything to that, or are we looking too deep into something? And, you know, maybe you can touch on that. I don't know.
Interesting.
Maybe Jerry really loved roses. Hell, I don't know.
You know, I was thinking about this very thing the other day. I was thinking about the song Run for the Roses, you know, and Hunter writing all these songs about roses. And it led me right to his mind, to Robert Hunter's mind. And, you know, the roses thing really started big time with a guy named Kelly, Alton Kelly, and him and Mouse, Kelly and Mouse, they made some of the early posters at the Fillmore in San Francisco, and they were really good at commercial art. You know, Mouse had come from way back in the racing days with the Rat Fink T-shirts. The first T-shirts that were ever made besides just white T-shirts were Rat Fink, this whole racing thing, and all these jalopies and hot rods. And so Kelly, he came from commercial art where he researched a lot of stuff, and he made the greatest posters. And he came up with that skull with the roses around it. And it goes back to the Middle Ages, where the Grateful Dead, the myth of the Grateful Dead come from, of in Europe during the other plague, not the one we're dealing with now, but the other bubonic plague, when that happened. It was the same thing. Everything was shut down. Everybody had to wear masks, and people were going crazy in every way, and you would come across dead bodies everywhere. And so the roses was a thing that Weir wrote about in his song Ashes, Ashes All Fall Down, because in those you had these red rings on your body, and they looked a little like roses. So at that time, the skull and the roses began a thing in Europe of being linked together to represent when you came across a body, if you gave it a good, decent burial, that was the Grateful Dead, and they helped you from beyond the grave. And so the mythology of all that blended together. And then you had, Ramble on Rose, and so many kids in our scene were named Rose, and they did really good. And it's a beautiful name, man. And like Shakespeare says, a rose by any other name would be just as sweet. But what a beautiful name that is for that flower and all that it represents, because it represents the beauty of life, but it also has those thorns on it, where you might get so close to that thing and you'll end up with a bloody finger. But
right, kind of that duality thing, right?
Right. I've always seen it as that, So I think you're on the right track there, calling her Rose. It's a great name, and I had an aunt named Rose, and I had a lot of Rose in my life.
Well, I think we'll probably stick with it then. That's a good enough story for me. Good enough evidence for me.
Well, there you go. I'm glad.
All right, Big Steve, I'll let you go, brother. I appreciate your time, and just want to let you know we're out here listening to you. We love you. And, hey, I wouldn't have Sirius XM if it wasn't for your show, just to be honest.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, man.
Absolutely. Love you,
Call
Big
me
Steve.
again.
Have a good day, man.
Call me again. Keep in touch. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, absolutely.
Okay, bye-bye. Wow, these are some great people. Do we have time for another here? Yes.
Yeah.
One more.
Let's round out with Lorenzo calling from Jupiter, Florida.
Okay. Lorenzo, how are you, buddy?
How you doing?
Good. How are you,
You have the memory of an elephant. It's incredible. I love it.
It is interesting how things are triggering it right now, man. I tell you, it's amazing.
Absolutely. Hey, you're an incredible storyteller, but I just wanted, in this hour, I got two quick stories for you if you want to hear them.
Let's go. You got to be quick. We don't have too much time, so hurry up.
Yep. The first one was from 1989. It was my first Grateful Dead concert. I grew up hating them because my brother loved them. But I eventually gave in and started to love them. And I remember them opening up with Shakedown Street. And at that time, everybody was jumping from the first level onto the floor. It looked like a bunch of ants on the walls. And I wasn't sitting with my brother, but I decided to jump down. And there were security guards arresting people and grabbing them and throwing them out. And as I was jumping down, someone grabbed me, and I thought it was a security guard. And I tried to climb back up, and I got pulled down, and it was my brother, who was on the floor, who had already jumped down and grabbed me. So the odds of that was just incredible, and I became a huge deadhead ever since that moment. And fast forward a couple years later, I guess it was, my friend was at RFK Stadium, and it was the year that they had the Bart Simpson acid, and it was going around all the shows. Right. And he and his friend took one, and they went into the show, and the fans were going crazy, and his friend looks at him a couple seconds later, you hear the crowd going, and he looks at my friend, he goes, "That was the best first set I've ever seen or heard." And my friend looks back at him, and he said, "That was just a tune-up."
Well, time.
That's a true story.
Time is what it is, man, and there's so much time in this world.
Yeah, those were a lot of fun years, and the camping in the parking lots was great. And now I go watch Dad and Company, and I guess they were supposed to play at MetLife for Jerry's official birthday on the 1st, and I was excited for that show, and unfortunately that didn't happen. But so be better days,
we'll get
right?
there again. We'll get there again, man. And, that's the way it is right now. But we were taking today to take a moment for all the people that passed away in the Grateful Dead. Pigpen, Jerry would like that. Hunter, Rock Scully, Brent, Keith, Vince, so many people, man. Just, Ramrod, Rex Jackson. It's just never ending. All the people that gave their heart and soul to this thing. So I'm thinking about everybody today.
It's incredible. I'm just glad that the music's still around.
Yes, sir. And guys like you are why it all happened. So thank you for being who you are, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, and thanks for keeping all the memories alive. I really admire how you can tell such detailed stories. It's incredible. So thank you for that.
All right, call me again, man. We'll talk some more. We're running out of time now, but I really thank you.
Steve. Thanks.
Okay, bud.
Cheers.
Bye. Definitely. Okay, well, that brings us to the close of another Big Steve Hour. It's so great talking to all you guys. Please call. We're going to get this down. This was great, very smooth today, and we're getting it better and better. I've got this studio coming up at my place at Grizzly Peak Farms where I live, and man, it's beautiful. And all my California Deadhead brothers and sisters, don't forget, Grizzly Peak is at your all over California dispensaries with Big Steve's OG right now available to all of you in boxes and bags, and we love that. And they're special editions, those boxes and bags. So check it out at BigSteveParish.com and GrizzlyPeak.com. Love you guys so much. Thank you for everything. And let's all thank Jerry again and all those people. All of you, give yourself a pat on the back. Love you, and I'll see you next week. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you next week.
You've been listening to the Big Steve Hour.